disciplines in general. So that's it. But in addition to formal education, the United Foundation was also implementing various programs, and that included functional adult literacy. That is a program that was designed to help adults, mainly women and men, who were not as lucky as the children to come to school. This is because the Karayi people had in life in general. So that's the adult education. The other is school feeding program. We also have a school feeding program at our very first school, which is Dandi Gudina Primary School, because sometimes the Karayi children were coming to school on their empty stomach, and there was a lot of problems. Some students were fainting, some students dropped out of school. So they saw the problem, and then they planned to start the school feeding program. And as a result of the school feeding program, the number of students attending the Dandi Gudina Primary School significantly increased. So that program really helped double the number of kids that came to Dandi Gudina School. So that's one thing. Another story that I would like to tell you is development or the intervention that GTF did in English language training. Partnered with the Canadian charity called ANSO. ANSO is an organization that works on improving basically the status quo on community. That is about relieving the poverty of people who are not fortunate and helping people's livelihoods to become better in general. So when ANSO and GTF teamed up, they first began to sponsor children through providing school facilities and dormitory facilities, and also training for in Canada. After that, in 2010, in August 2010, GTF's and ANSO's partnership significantly improved and reached a new height, and that brought a language that we call an English language program. The English language program was a program that we implemented for 6 years, and then that was helping kids to improve their English. So basically what that did is Canadian teachers from Canada came from Canada and will spend 3 weeks to 6 weeks sometimes. Sometimes they will stay there for 3 weeks, sometimes for 6 weeks, and they were teaching their Karayi children all kinds of language skills, writing, reading, and because of this, ANSO teachers made sure that, as opposed to the regular class teaching in Ethiopia, which is a lecture method, the Canadian teachers brought an interactive and engaging method of teaching, and so that really helped the Karayi children learn faster and then significantly improve their English language skills. And in particular, one group that significantly benefited from that is the girls, because in traditional Karayi society, girls don't enjoy the same privilege as boys do. So that means most of the time you would see Karayi girls being shy and hesitant and afraid and not wanting to raise their hand and participate and learn. So what ANSO teachers, Canadian volunteer teachers did, they made sure that girls learn, so that they brought through the methodologies, the teaching methodologies, the engaging teaching methodologies that they brought, it really helped kids to open up, to speak with ease, and then to gain confidence. And one aspect of that is also students began to express themselves in English, most of them for the first time in front of a huge, crowd or public. So their public speaking skills also improved, and that is also one thing. The other thing that made ANSO's contribution amazing was the presence of the teachers was also something that added a new dimension to GTF's educational programs. And because of I can say from my experience, because as I was working with ANSO, first as a teaching assistant, and then later I became a teacher in that program, and I was teaching the Karayu kids. I was fortunate enough to help my own friends, fellow Karayu children. So the other significant aspect that I saw was the friendships that we formed with the Canadian teachers really helped us to open a world, which was the small world of Karayu, the landscape, the people, and which was really small. So we didn't have any other outside exposure to the global world. With the coming of the teachers, here are people coming to teach us from Canada, all the way from Canada, and learning our culture, as well as teach us something. So that was really amazing. We liked the Canadian teachers, and then the Canadian teachers also liked us and the Karayu culture. So it was such an amazing time for us. And because of this contribution, today the Karayu people are thankful for ANSO's contribution and everything. And so that's one thing. The other is I have a personal story about ANSO and the contribution that they are doing, and that is while teaching summer English language boot camp, I met a Canadian friend and a teacher who volunteered to come and teach English, a man called Byron. And so Byron and I became friends, and because of the friendship that we formed, Byron decided to sponsor me and to take me to Canada. As a result of that, I went to Canada, and then I studied my degree in anthropology, and 3 years of studying anthropology, and seeing Canada and the vast and beautiful land, and meeting my former volunteer teachers. I had a good time in Canada, and then I gave back, and now I rejoined GTF, and I'm helping GTF in the education sector. So that is it. I think one of the things that GTF has really done in that Karayu is when you look at the Karayu landscape itself, the amazing thing is that people live not very far away from the capital. They're just here, basically 4 hours drive from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia's capital. However, they have been overlooked for many years. After GTF came in 1994, and then they opened the school in 1995. Prior to that, there is no development record in the Karayu land. So the Karayus were basically living their lives isolated and without any service that they wanted. So that changed. So when you look at that from that perspective, what GTF has done has really changed the Karayu history. It put the Karayu people on the map. People began to understand the Karayu people itself. Instead of looking down on Karayu as just people who just move from one place to another, they wanted to see Karayu children, educated Karayu minds coming out of ABT village and other villages, and helping their country as well with the acquired skills that they get through education. So it really empowered people. It changed the landscape. It changed the people, and it was really empowering. So I think this impact can be seen today across various Ethiopian sectors, from education, from institution, higher educational institutions, to agricultural center, to really a wide range of sectors. Today you will see a Karayu graduate of the Andi Gudina school serving their people with the acquired skills. So that was really powerful. Okay. 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 So my personal story is I have a very interesting personal story for you, and that is how I came to school. And so when the school first opened, like I said, people did not send many children to school, and in the third I am the third batch that went to the Dandiguduna Primary School. So it was not a meeting that I planned, right? So it was just a usual, morning in the Fantale village, and I was a young boy, and my duties were just looking after a cow or a goat. So that's what I needed to do. But that morning, my mother decided to send me to my father, who was working at the school construction facility there, and so she told me to bring him, to take him lunch there. So I was basically delivering his lunch to the school, and so while delivering the lunch to my dad, I came upon a very something which was basically a new environment, things that I have never seen in my life. So being a young boy, growing up in a pastoralist community, taking care of my father's goats and cows, that was my life. My life revolved around those things. So when I came up to the place where my dad was working, I saw foreign elements, something that I didn't know. That included, buildings and people that I have never seen, people who were wearing strange clothes, really. Back then I wasn't wearing that clothes, so I was very afraid. I was shy, and I didn't want to go inside, but one Karayi friend told me to show me where my dad was working. So I went there, and then I gave the lunch to my dad. But my dad has decided to send me to school. So he had made sure that he had talked to the school principal and wanted me to begin the school there. So, so the person who was working at the school facility told me to go to the school, and I was afraid. I didn't want to go to school, so I held my father's clothes, and then I didn't want to go. So the guy chased me. He basically chased me to the other school on the other side. So I went to that school, and then I came to some new faces, and then some of the students I didn't know. So that's how it started, and since then I have never looked back. I enjoyed my school, and I loved learning, and yeah, that's my story. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. So the story from gun to pen, we have a favorite story on this exhibition that we're trying to show people. Is one powerful story that we're going to tell, and that is a story of from gun to people, from gun to pen. That is where when prior to GTF's arrival on the Karayu land, like I said, the Karayus were living with their animals, and they were carrying guns and going about their day with their animals. However, when the school started, some children began to come to school, and so that part of carrying guns stopped, and kids started to pick up pens, and then they started to embrace education, and that embracing education made the Karayu children see their fate, their future that never existed before GTF came. So I think I've spoken that before. Yeah, you're welcome.